Doc Rivers is officially in the Basketball Hall of Fame. The lessons Sean Sweeney and the Orlando Magic can learn today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is August 17th, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. And on today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to talk about coaching, Sean Sweeney's big task, what he has to establish, and who he's going to lean on to accomplish a huge goal. Because the Orlando Magic need to learn the lessons from heart and hustle. And that's the inspiration for today's episode, because today it kind of slipped under the radar. Like, I don't know how much Magic fans claim Doc Rivers. I really don't. Usually when the Hall of Fame weekend comes around, if there's a player with any scintilla or any connection to the Orlando Magic, I want to take a moment to reflect and appreciate what they did, whether it's for the team, whether it's for the league. Just note the connection in some fashion. The Magic are a young team. They don't have any championships. They haven't been in the spotlight very much. And so finding Hall of Famers is a tenuous thing. Yes, Patrick Ewing is technically the first Orlando Magic Hall of Famer. Tracy McGrady is the first Magic player Hall of Famer. Last year we had Dwight Howard enter the Hall of Fame, which should have been a much bigger deal among Magic fans, because Dwight Howard is one of the best players in franchise history whose best years were primarily in Orlando. So I don't know how much you care that Doc Rivers went to the Hall of Fame. It slipped under the radar for me. I didn't really think too much about it, but A, it's August and I'm hungry for content. But B, as I thought more about it, I was like, no, we do need to stop and recognize Doc Rivers. We do need to recognize what he has done for this franchise and why his Hall of Fame coaching career is worth reflecting on, especially at this moment where the Magic are transitioning to a new coach. For those who may not be up on the history, yes, Doc Rivers did not mention Orlando very much in his Hall of Fame speech. He mentioned John Gabriel giving him job, first hiring him as a never coached before coach. Doc had retired from the NBA, gone into broadcasting when the Magic hired him as their head coach back in 1999, after Chuck Daly retired. The Magic also had this crazy plan at the time. They sold everybody off. Any remnants of the 1995 team were gone. The Magic tied for the top seed in 1999. They were the 3 seed on tiebreakers, lost in the first round. They traded Penny Hardaway. They traded Horace Grant. They traded Nick Anderson. Any remnants of the 1995 team were gone. And the Magic essentially said, give us all your cast-offs, give us all your expiring contracts. We're going to enter next season with no salary committed, or virtually no salary committed. And we're going to chase the big fish. They made it very, very clear what they were doing. They couldn't say it because of tampering violations, but everybody knew the Magic were chasing Tim Duncan, Tracy McGrady, Grant Hill the following season. Probably just Tim Duncan and Grant Hill at that point. Tracy McGrady came later. And so the Magic hired an inexperienced coach essentially to babysit this team. But this is Doc Rivers' kind of genius. And this is why I think it's really important historically. And so hopefully this stays in the historical record. I think it's really important to explain historically why Doc Rivers found success at every other stop. And yes, he won only one championship in 2008 with the Celtics. That is what he's most known for. That's why Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, and Paul Pierce were the ones welcoming him to the stage and inducting him into the Hall of Fame, or presenting him to the Hall of Fame. He never reached those heights again. Some people would say that he was disappointing. He lost a lot of playoff leads, including one in Orlando. And he would shoot back as well. At least I built them. But all the best Doc Rivers teams had what he established in that 2000 season, that 1999-2000 season. The Magic weren't expected to win 20 games. If you can name any player on that roster besides Darrell Armstrong, Bo Outlaw, and Ben Wallace, not that I'll be genuinely impressed, but I'll accuse you of looking it up. Frankly, I probably would have to look it up. If you pulled out, one of my favorite video games growing up was NBA Courtside 2 with Kobe Bryant on the N64. If you pulled up the roster for the Orlando Magic on that opening night video game, you'd be shocked at the names. And of course, the Magic weren't predicted to do anything. What followed that season earned Doc Rivers Coach of the Year as a rookie head coach. But what transpired that season was something that Magic fans still talk and think about today. The Heart and Hustle team is one of the most beloved teams in franchise history. They went 41-41 playing a frenetic, high-intensity defense led by Darrell Armstrong, led by Ben Wallace and Bo Outlaw's defense. Eventually, Chris Gatlin came into play, and Ron Mercer and Tariq Abdul-Wahad, and a lot of interesting players. That team should never have. That team just, frankly, there's talent there, but the design of that team was never to compete for the playoffs. And the Magic finished 9th and were eliminated from the playoffs in the last week of the season in a loss to the Milwaukee Bucks. Doc Rivers established who he is as a coach in that season. The Ubuntu that he brought to the Boston Celtics about togetherness and sacrifice. The way he was able to maybe not maximize stars, but the way he was able to get the most out of stars at every stop along the way. That came from this basis. And I honestly, and this is completely with Magic colored glasses, but I really don't think you can understand why Doc Rivers is a Hall of Famer and why Doc Rivers is successful without understanding this Heart and Hustle team. We're going to talk about lessons from that Heart and Hustle team in our second segment. Obviously, that intensity, that drive didn't last because the Magic did get the stars. They signed Grant Hill and Tracy McGrady. And Tracy McGrady was a universe unto himself. And while Doc had plenty of success making the playoffs 3 straight years with Tracy McGrady, 3 of the five seasons he coached with the Magic made the playoffs. Well, the Magic made those playoff trips. They couldn't get any further. Some of that was management's refusal to go into the tax. Some of that was Grant Hill's injury, playing, I think he'll play 33 games in the 4 seasons Tracy McGrady was with the Magic. Some of that is perhaps Tracy McGrady wasn't the sacrifice guy. He didn't have the players around him to sacrifice. It was a constant reshuffling of players around him, as frankly, chasing stars well past their prime for long stretches of it. The Magic never fulfilled their potential, obviously, under Doc Rivers. And when they started 1-10, they fired him. In 2004, when they started 1-10 in the 2004 season, they fired him. Understandably. It was clear he lost his voice. Not literally, although literally. And Doc eventually landed in Boston, and the rest is a little bit of history. Because remember, before the big 3 came, Doc was in trouble there too. Doc Rivers is absolutely a Hall of Fame coach. The amount of wins, the amount of playoff appearances, the players he's coached, the championship, obviously, he is undoubtedly a Hall of Fame coach. But even Doc would say his favorite team that he coached was that first team, that Heart and Hustle team. That team still meant something to him. And it's a team that we still think about. So what are the lessons from Heart and Hustle? What can we use to apply that to today? That's what I want to talk about coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by friends over at Indeed Sponsor Jobs. So workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire. Indeed Sponsor Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, and location. So less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the right fit. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In the minute I'll be talking to you today, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. It's the offseason. In the offseason, teams around the league are looking for the right person to fill the job. Again, it's the same as anything else. You're looking for the right person to fill that position. So are the Orlando Magic. Usually the biggest difference isn't someone doing more work. It's having somebody who knows exactly what needs to happen and helps everything run smoother. How many teams of just super talented players don't work out because the puzzle pieces just don't fit? You need to find the right person for the right role. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates that you check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. Then you need the right person to cut through the chaos. This is a job for Indeed Sponsor Jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsor job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed Sponsor Jobs. Why does the Heart and Hustle team resonate? Like the Magic have had a lot of teams miss the playoffs. And I believe the Heart and Hustle team is it's either the only one or one of two teams that finished at 500 or better in Magic history that did not make the playoffs. So why do we talk about a team that did not even make the playoffs? Why is it 26 years later, when I say the words Heart and Hustle, if you are a longtime Magic fan, and maybe some of you weren't around for this season, if you are a longtime Magic fan, it just warms your heart. When you say Darryl Armstrong, Bo Outlaw, Ben Wallace, again, like a lot of these names that no one ever heard of, it just, the emotion overwhelms you. The emotion overtakes you. It was a truly magical, pun intended, and special season. And frankly, it is such a defining season that I think we as Magic fans, at least the longtime Magic fans who've been around for long enough, we know a team that meets that standard. Like, look, 09 and 2010 and 95 and 96, those are championship level teams. Like those are the standards. Like when a team gets really good, we think, well, how do they compare to the Shaq teams? How do they compare to the Dwight teams? And that's how it should be. Like you want to be in that class of teams. Like right now, this Magic team, the Paolo Franz era, I'd put it above the T-Mac era because they've gotten closer to getting out of the first round more consistently. It feels like we're going to get a fourth playoff trip, which T-Mac didn't do. And I think these teams are just better. Like T-Mac just didn't have a lot of help. But at a baseline, what Magic fans want to see is they want to see the heart and hustle. They want you to just meet that baseline of, hey, just play hard. Good things happen when you play hard. One of the reasons I think this era of Magic basketball, the Paolo Franz era, the Jamal Mosley era, one of the reasons why I think this era of Magic basketball has clicked so much with Magic fans and led to such bitter disappointment last season especially, is because this is a group that reminds everyone so much of that heart and hustle team. For at least the first 4 years of Jamal Mosley's tenure, the Magic's reputation was they just play harder than you. And they may not have the talent, they may not have the skills, they may not have everything they need to win a championship. But they just play harder than you. And that goes a long way. Now, some might argue, well, in the playoffs, that's not enough. Everybody plays hard in the playoffs, that effort gap closes. And that might be true. That might be why the Heart and Hustle team didn't make the playoffs, because then the talent gap finally exposed itself. It might be true that, like, yes, that's why in the playoffs, in the 3 playoff series the Magic played, effort wasn't the issue. It came down to skill and came down to just make a dang shot at times. But what really stung about last season was that we questioned the effort at almost every turn of the season. I remember coming on here after the Magic lost in Washington and complaining endlessly, like, I don't know who this team is anymore, because the one thing I could assume was effort. And, that was one of the warning signs. There were warning signs earlier, the second half against Sixers in early in the season, second half against Pistons early in the season. Or it's just like when things got hard, the effort didn't increase. There was just, I don't want to say, I hate saying that players quit, because I don't think that's the case, but you could see how discouraged the team got. One thing that I don't think Magic fans will accept is a team that gets discouraged like that, where you could physically feel and see shoulders drop and just the effort level decrease, even if it's not intentional. The reason why, like, so many Magic fans can't quit Jalen Suggs, or frankly, the reason why Magic fans are afraid to quit on Jalen Suggs, is because he is a heartbeat of this team. He plays with so much intensity and effort. He is very much like Darryl Armstrong, putting his body on the line and doing everything he can to win games. And losing that is losing a big part of this team's character. That, I think, is something. It's not nothing. Heart and Hustle still resonates with us because I think as fans, like, effort is all that we ask for. This fan base will love you if you play hard. And that feels like, oh, that's such a minimum expectation. But this fan base will truly love you if you play hard. If you could be the least talented team in the league, like that 1999-2000 team was, but if you just show up every night and play your butt off, the results are going to come. You're going to have the opportunity to win a lot of games. And this fan base is going to rally around you. Again, I don't think everyone jumped ship last year. I think everyone could sense the team was trying and trying to figure some things out, and there's just something wasn't clicking last year. And everyone could sense that something wasn't clicking last year. Like, I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. Just for whatever reason, it didn't click. And that was easy to sense. It's just something was off. We know what this Magic team was supposed to look like and feel like. And I don't think people people were disappointed last year. Like, no doubt. Like, last year was one of the most disappointing seasons in Magic history. Put it up there with 2011, put it up there with 2004. It was bitterly disappointing. And players felt that disappointment too. Like, I think they were dissatisfied with how their season went. Heart and Hustle defines what this organization aspires to be at a baseline. Again, I'm talking like baseline. If you want fan support, if you want people behind you, if you want just a little bit of success, effort and energy are the requirements. And frankly, that's the identity this team needs to regain. While Sean Sweeney's big task isn't just about offense. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by friends over at Wayfair. Whether you're refreshing one room, getting ready for a new season, or finally replacing that piece of furniture you've been putting off, Wayfair makes it easy to find something that fits your home, your style, and your budget. You can shop furniture and decor across a wide range of price points with quality materials and pieces designed to stand up to real life. And with Wayfair verified, product specialists hand vet selected products through a 10-point quality inspection, looking at things like materials, functionality, features, and even how long they take to build. And if you're still trying to narrow down what to buy, Wayfair gives you plenty of real shopper feedback to work with. You can browse more than 20 million verified 5-star reviews, along with real customer photos and feedback to help you shop with more confidence. We all have those frustrations with our home. We all have that piece of furniture that's nearing the end of its life, or we have that piece that came from an old house that doesn't quite fit your new space. So go to Wayfair and you just simply find what you're looking for. You need that coffee table with built-in storage? They got it. You need that style, that color that you're looking for? They got it. And you can see reviews and customer photos so you know it would look good in a real home, not just in a staged photo. And once it arrives, it completely works, completely changes your room. It finally feels intentional instead of temporary. Wayfair is where you go to pull a space together without overthinking it. Join Wayfair Rewards today to get 5% back on every purchase and start saving on your next home upgrade. Head to wayfair.com to shop all things home. That's Wayfair, Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Sean Sweeney has a lot on his plate. And we'll probably talk more about how we're going to measure success for this team. Wins, getting deeper into the playoffs. And that is a very rare place for a first-year coach to be in. Like Doc Rivers wasn't expected to do that in his first year in Orlando. He was expected to just kind of get through the season, and then we'll see where the free agents land. Sean Sweeney's obviously being asked to do a lot more. And I know I mentioned this. Yes, changing, reforming, like figuring out how to squeeze a little bit more offensive consistency and efficiency out of this team is essential. It is a huge piece of this puzzle. But as I mentioned too, the bigger task for Sean Sweeney is getting this team back to being an elite defense. Finishing 13th in defensive rating last year was unacceptable for this team to be successful. And after finishing top 5 in defense the previous 2 seasons when they made the playoffs, the Magic have to get back to being an elite defensive team. Now, I don't know if they're going to be top 5 again. There are a lot of really good defensive teams in the league now. But they've got to be one of the best defensive teams in the league. That is the only path for their success. The other task, and this task is related, is getting that pride and intensity back. I would argue that this lost identity was a huge part of last season's struggles and last season's inability to take that next step. The Magic did not look like the Orlando Magic, or at least not like the Orlando Magic that they were the previous really 4 years under Jamal Mosley. We knew what a Magic team was supposed to look like. We took effort and energy and intensity for granted. That was this team's whole MO. That was this team's whole deal, was to say, we're going to play harder than you as a baseline. And look, when the Magic were at their best last year, that is how they played. Whether it was because of injuries, whether it was because of frustration, the Magic never met that every single game. And look, playing hard, playing with more energy and intensity, winning those 50-50 balls, that makes up for a lot of other shortcomings. Again, in the regular season, certainly you could get away with a lot more of that stuff. Playoffs, not so much. Playoffs, but those margins are still there. And winning that last little bit means everything. Not letting missed shots affect your effort, affect your mood. That is everything. And so Sean Sweeney's big task to me, it's first restoring the Magic to where they were before last season. It's restoring the Magic's pride in their defense. It's restoring the Magic's intensity and effort. That stuff is the foundation of everything. I don't care if the Magic miss every three they take those first couple of games. As long as they're playing hard and playing defense, that's going to be a start. Now, like, obviously, wins matter. Obviously, that is like the whole game. And so, like, yes, I'm not sitting here saying sacrifice games just to play hard and good job, everybody. You're like, no. The Magic need to win. Like, we made it very, very clear. The Magic, with their payroll, with all the expectations, they have got to win. They've got to get out of the first round. They got to win a playoff series. They got to look like they're pointing toward a championship. Like that, like, those are big, heady tasks for Sean Sweeney. And to sit here and say, hey, we got to rebuild the very foundations of this team and this team's identity and get back to what they looked like 2 years ago, that tells you the Herculean task ahead for this group this season. The Magic are more likely than not winning a championship this year. That's okay. But it's 50-50 they get out of the first round. It's 50-50 they avoid the play-in. Like, nobody knows. And everyone is right to lean on the side of they're not going to make it. That's okay. I understand that. That's we'll talk expectations and predictions in our next episode. But Sean Sweeney's big task is to bring back the heart and hustle. It's to make this team look like that team and then build on it from there. That's why Doc Rivers is so important to Magic history. Whether they intended to or not, the 1999-2000 Heart and Hustle team is a baseline for all other successful Magic teams. Magic fans will fall in love with you if you remind them in any way of that 1999-2000 team. That's why the 2024, 2025 Magic were beloved. That's why the 2023 Magic were beloved. It wasn't just the possibility of talent and the hope for the future. It was this is heart and hustle. This is who we are. This is what we expect from our team. And that's what the Magic should expect from this team too. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the information on the podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. So you check us out on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, your Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub, or subscribe to our Everyday Club at LockedOnMagic.supercast.com. Like I mentioned, some changes coming to both of those. We're still working on them on the back end, but stay tuned for that. We will get to those very, very shortly. Thank you all again for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go check out the Locked On NBA podcast because there is no offseason. Wes, Matt, and Hayes keep you up to date on contract negotiations, rumors, and everything you need to be the most informed NBA fan. Find Locked On NBA on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. I've been promising summer hours for a couple of weeks now. This week is my summer hours week. Probably not going to have an episode tomorrow. We'll be back Wednesday or Tuesday night, Wednesday, for the next new episode. Maybe I'll still sit down and do an episode tomorrow. But gonna probably ease off the throttle this week and a little bit next week, toward the tail end of next week. But our next episode of Locked On Magic, I do want to talk about NBA 2K ratings and expectations for the Orlando Magic's best players. So we'll get to all the noise and outside noise circling the Magic later on in the week. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.